Okay, welcome to our open house class 2025. Hi everyone on film there. If anybody needs anything, I do have a printout, so feel free to reach out to me, wendy.schaller@realty1group.com, and I'll go ahead and email you what I have. But today we're going to do open houses from A to Z. Has anybody in here done an open house yet? One, two, anybody else? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to show you the proper way to do it. Last year I did like open house field trip. And I was like, okay, this is great. So we had like 15 agents show up. It was awesome. I was like, okay. So they all trailered me in a car. And I showed them how to set up signs. And like before we left, I showed them how to actually pick a house on the computer and everything. But then when we got there, was a vacant home and there was a pool. And I had about 4 agents, I think, yes, that stayed by me, and everybody else was dangling their feet in the pool. So I'm like, yeah, not going to do that. It was almost like I felt like I was a high school teacher, and it was just like field trip day. And I was like, okay, this was for them, not for me, but we did get 6 leads. So there's the 4 that stayed with me. One of them sold one of the houses. So it didn't sell that house, because actually that house went under contract the morning that we were doing the open housing. But it was a great learning, for all of the agents. So I thought, because it took a good 7 hours for me to put all that together that day, and I was like, I can't do that if they're just going to be playing around and playing in the pool. So I figure I'll just show you what my setup is and how I do it. So on your handouts today, we're going to kind of go step by step. So I wanted to start with, what the objective is. The objective is to learn how to properly do an open house and legally and effectively hold the open house. Now, a lot of people think that the open house is to sell that house, and it's not. That house, that's that listing agent's job to market it. Your job at an open house is to really grab unrepresented buyers or buyers that are not happy with their agents or potential listings in that neighborhood, right? Everything you do to represent yourself on an open house is your brand. And if the neighbors see how you're holding the open house, because they naturally just think it's your listing when you're sitting at the open house, even though it's not. But when they see you do that, they're going to, call you hopefully to get, their listings. So it's tenfold here. It's not just really sell the house. Now you possibly could sell that house, but in 20 years I've only sold one client off an open house, and I wasn't even holding the open house. I showed them like 6 homes during the day. We left, and he and his wife went and they were driving around, and they walked into an open house. But the way I train my buyers is when I first meet them, I give them a stack of my cards, and I say, you do not go anywhere without me. And if you do, you would tell them right up front, I have a realtor, give them my card. And new home builds, if you say, I have a realtor, I was just driving by, she told me to come check it out, can I come in? And if they say no, trust them. The answer is no, because my job is to represent you. And if you go into a new build, they represent the seller, the builder, so you won't get representation. They'll fill out the contract for you, but you're not getting representation. Now, if you go into an open house, technically, that lady did not have to give it to me. But they said, this is my realtor, we just left her, we were driving home, stopped here. She says, I don't care, come on in. She was just wanted to sell her home. So she called me immediately, I have your clients in here. And I was like, great, let me know if you have any questions. I just left them. They were heading home. I saw your open house. And so she worked with me, got it. But technically, they go through, that agent's the procuring cause. Now, we do have the BBRA. Now, from day one, I've always used what used to be called the BBA, Buyer Broker Agreement. Now it's the BBRA, Buyer Broker Representation Agreement, right? They can cancel that at any time. So just keep that in mind. But what they can't do is buy a house that you showed them while they were under contract. So you show them on Saturday morning, and then they leave, and then they cancel you Saturday night, and on Sunday they make an offer on the house. Doesn't matter. You showed them that house while you're under contract. Yes?
Well, you said they can cancel the BBRA.
Anytime.
How can they cancel the BBRA?
Sending you an email.
And second, if say we are under contract or whatever, right, for a listing, or for them buying a home and they cancel it, then am I still entitled to my commission?
Only if they buy a home that you would show them while this was in effect.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why when we're filling out, we have a whole other class on the BBRA, but at the very bottom it'll say what commission and transaction fee, and right under that it has a blank for how many days. You're going to want to put at least 180 days. And that means that they can't buy any of the homes you showed them until 180 days after this agreement is not enforceable. So then that's how you get it. So if they can't cancel you and the next day go write an offer, because you're still due that commission. You'll have to fight for it, but you're still due that commission, right? Okay. So now with that BBRA, it's a slippery slope now because it's required that we show them. So when we are doing open house, our Realty One agents are doing open houses, you are only allowed to do open houses on Realty One group listings because the brokerage holds that listing. So therefore, we don't need every buyer to come in and sign a BBRA, right? If it's your listing or someone in the brokerage listing, they do not have to, hold. But if you were to go down the street and ask that brokerage, can I sit in an open house for you? They'll say, yeah. But then every buyer that walks in, you have to have them sign your BBRA. They're going to be very reluctant to sign a contract just to view a home, right, with somebody they don't know. So that's why Realty One has established that. Hey, so with that, I have a little trivia question. How many listings, does anybody know how many Realty One Group active listings we have right now? No. And I don't even look daily. But, so just so you know, there's over 1,000 active listings just for Realty One Group. But 837 are single-family residential. Okay, the others are land or what did I see? Rentals. So you don't want to sit an open house at a rental. You want to sit at a single-family residential. So think about it. You have 837 listings you could potentially call. Can I sit? I'm with Realty One Summerlin. Can I sit at your listing? So that's what you're going to do.
So we don't have to wait until we get the emails from them in the Sunshine office,
Mhm.
and then they'll say agent needed for
Mhm.
open house.
Yep.
We don't have to wait for.
No, you can call. You can call. If you're working a neighborhood and there's a Realty One Group agent that takes a listing in there, call them and say, hey, do you mind if I, sit at your open house? About year 9 of my career, I said, okay, I'm more productive outside. I don't really want to sit the listings anymore. So I would take a list of all the new agents. I loved letting the new agents sit at almost every day, one of them would sit there, and I was cool with that. So, but there's some agents that they don't want anybody else but themselves because they want to double end it. I've got my own theories on the double ending, the dual agency. I don't agree with it. I don't believe in it. But we're legally allowed to do it. That means you represent the buyer and the seller at the same time. Oh, sorry. Let me shut this off. And so with that, my reason, because I have my seller hat on. So now I'm sitting at the sellers and I'm telling them what the comps are and what they should get for it and what we can do and all the tactics. And then an unrepresented buyer comes in and they're like, can you represent me? And I say, sure. Well, now I have a buyer hat on, but I also have the seller hat on. So what happens, you become neutral at that point. And so when the buyer's like, I want to make an offer, what should I offer? All I can do is, here are the comps. I cannot advise them on anything, right? So then they write is like, is this good? Should I ask for this? You just tell me what you want. Like, I can't represent them. But now when they give it to me, I go, here, seller, here's your offer. Is it a good offer? Well, here are the comps. I now no longer really represent them because at any point you cross over. So you're not doing any favors to either side. Now, can we do it? Sure. People get money hungry and they do that. But guess what? That opens you up for so many lawsuits. A lot more lawsuits happen because they're double ending it, because somebody is going to feel like they didn't win, and then they're going to be mad. Yes?
Well, usually you assign to another agent in the same brokerage as
Yeah, or somebody you've partnered up with or whatever. We don't get involved with that, but if you come to us and say, hey, I got somebody, do you know of anybody that's good at high rises? We're going to go through the list and say, hey, here are the list of them. You guys call and work something out, because at that point, if I'm a listing agent, I'm going to say, hey, can you, do you want this listing? Do you want the buyer? The buyer came unrepresented. I don't do dual agency. I take an X percentage commission, referral fee. You say sure, because you're not having to draw, I actually get a little bit more commission, referral fee, that way, because I've taken all the driving part and searching part away from you. All you're doing is writing up and negotiating, which is still a big part of it. But the time sucker and the wasting the gas and all that, I just took away from you. You just need to write it up. So but again, we don't get involved in your referral compensation. You guys work that out between yourselves. Yes.
So Realty One, all offices, none of our brokers do assigned agency.
Okay. We don't assign. Just like I used to have a class called, what did I call it? Agent Mastermind. And that was when new and seasoned agents would come together. It was every Tuesday. And we were like just bouncing ideas off of each other. And it's like, hey, I have a listing. Who here wants to do it? That way they can meet who's doing the list. The open houses. And then the new agents have people that they might be able to shadow. But then the seasoned agents get so busy, and then they end up not showing up. And next thing you know, I got a room full of new agents that they're just like looking for information, and I'm like, it's all coming from me. They get sick of everything coming from me. So I'm like, you want to hear outside agents. So we kind of pushed that away, but I thought it'd be a good time for them to kind of meet each other, and but it just didn't work out but a couple of months, and I was like, okay, well, so it does better when you post it on Facebook, because we have almost 2,000 agents within our brokerages here, the 4 offices. You might want to be shadowing somebody in Green Valley, it's because you're like, hey, does anybody want, can I shadow you? And they're like, sure, come down here, I have an open house. Go. And you're not going to get anything out of it, but you're going and tell them, I don't want anything, I just want to watch you and see how you do it. Once you take that pressure off of them, because they're like, great, now they're going to expect half of anything. They're going to, no, but they're going to use you. I'd be all, okay, put those signs out. Okay, hey, hang that over there. Hey, go make sure my signs didn't blow over. Like, I'm going to give you tasks, but you're going to see how the process goes and what I say and all of that stuff. So with that, you have a lot of options to go and find open houses, because we have over 800 listings right now. Now, they're not all vacant. Can you do open houses on homes that people live in? Absolutely. Don't do it if there's a tenant in there, right? Because you're responsible for everything in that home. I always chose to do vacant homes because I don't want to risk somebody saying that I held an open house on their listing and something's missing, and years ago, we had a large ring of people that would come in, and they'd come in with 5 or 6 people. And the wife would have a baby, and the husband come in holding the blanket. And while the wife is distracting the agent, the husband is stealing things under the blanket, right? You don't know, and you don't know what belongs in that house because it's not your listing. Right. You don't even know the seller, so it's not like you can call them and say, is everything here? And it's their word against yours now. So I just, especially as a new agent, until you're used to how you navigate them, just try to do vacant homes. If it's your own listing, and they live there, they're going to want you to do them. But I honestly, when I would take listings, I say I only do open houses on vacant listings. So I'm sorry, you're not eligible for open houses. And then they're like, really? I hear they sell because of it. Well, they don't sell because of it. It's just a way for me to grab buyers. I don't care about the buyers right now. I care about your safety of your belongings and all of that, and I explain why. And then they're like, okay, yeah, I'm good. So, and I'm not trying to.
Would you do an open house by appointment?
It's the same thing. All their belongings are in there. But you mean
it's like you're walking with people,
then it's more just like a showing.
Okay.
Because you don't want to double book people.
Right.
So you're making an appointment to show as opposed to,
Okay.
And so if they have a realtor, or if they're on Zillow, they can see that you have a listing. So if they're interested, they're going to reach out to you anyways.
Okay.
So open houses is just open. Now, what's the difference between an open house and a broker open? Does anybody know?
Exclusive to just the broker's agent.
Just the agents. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be our Realty One agents. I can hold a broker open for all 16,000 licensed realtors, and I just market to them. I'm just trying to get agents' eyes on my homes. Is it good or bad? I don't know. I mean, it's good to get it out there, but we all have the same MLS system. So if I have a client looking for something in that price range, in that area, I'm going to see it. But it's neat to kind of go and just say, hey, and we see it a lot for the higher end homes, because they're just trying to showcase, like, you don't see everything in those pictures, so come and see, and it's great for social media, and agents love that for those really nice high-end homes.
That's like the luxury homes, right?
Yeah. You can do a broker open. We used to have what was called train tours, and I think you might get some emails about that, and it's just like once a month they'll meet somewhere, and then everybody just follow in their car, and there are these 5 homes, and it takes like 4 or 5 hours, and I'm like, that's fine and all, but again, I have access to any of that, and I can make an appointment or go see it if it's vacant at any time. So if you just want to be out and about and socialize with other realtors, cool, it's however you want to do your business. There's no wrong way to do it. I just like to give you the err on the side of caution when there's people's belongings inside, because at any point they could say something was there that wasn't, or something is missing and you won't even know, so just be careful with that. So, okay, understanding the open house policy, you can only do Realty One Group listings because we don't need to have them fill out the BBRA. This protects you legally and simplifies the guest interaction. With open houses, guests are reluctant to sign in. They just are. They don't want to do it, and if they do it, half the time it's the wrong information. Now you're having them fill out a BBRA and like a contract for just to view the home, and then they're out, right? And now they remember your name, and then they're like, I'm not going anything there. Because what I always focused on is making such an awesome open house that people started looking for my open houses. And it wasn't even about that open house and selling that house. They're gonna remember me and like, oh, you're the one that sells, oh, and then I could say, hey, I do these every weekend. You guys wanna come? I could put you on my mailing list. And then, because what I used to do back in the day, the title companies, the lenders, the home warranty company, they'd give you little trinkets, like pens and balls and whatever. And I'd put things all scattered through the house. And I'm like, grab some stuff as you're walking through. So they were always looking for my open houses because I was giving them all this stuff, right? I didn't care why they were coming if that was the reason they're coming. But they're coming, And so it's a little bit harder now because everybody's budgets got cut a little bit, so we don't have all that free stuff now to give away. But if you guys want to make your own chapsticks or pens or whatever it is, it's always better to, brand things to yourself because they're like Rock Title. They don't even remember where they got that pen, We will, but they won't. So I always say it's always fun to make little things to give out if you can do it. And I know there was... I forget what it was I'm sure if you had kids, you all have the website that is, because we always buy stuff for their parties, the trading company, the Oriental Trading Company. Yep. So they have like little trinkets and things. Now they're not branded to you, but you could buy like 100 bags for like $30. They're really inexpensive to get like little things around there. You can maybe find little like squeezy balls and things like that. If you wanted to go drop some stuff off. But again, not branded to you, but if you wanted to give some stuff away, you can find cheap ways, or the dollar store is a great one too. But I always like the branded stuff better. Anyways, okay, so choosing the right home and how choosing the right home to sit at, right? So what's the best day of the week do you guys think to sit at an open house?
The weekend.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Saturday?
Well, any day's good. How about that? So, and it's good. And what time? Anytime, right? But I like to be strategic, like if they, when all the parents are taking the kids to school or picking them up, right? You want to do, if school gets out at 2 o'clock, you want to start that open house at like 1 at the latest, because they might be driving, well, I have 20 minutes. Oh, let me just stop in here. You're trying to grab them. Now, when they get the kids and they got a car full of kids, they're not going to want to stop, right? So, but you want them to see it, especially if it's your own house. Hey, they're doing an open house, and I do mine to the nines outside with the wiggly guys, and then the signs, and and banners and flags, and I just do a lot, so they can't miss it, right? So even if they can't make it, they know about the house, and then they're like, oh, every time they drive by, oh, I've got to look at the house. I just want it to stand out in their mind, right? So I think you're going to plan it. Now, if you're doing it on the weekend, Sundays are a little difficult because we do, people want to do Sunday mornings, which is great if you're not a churchgoer. Now, a lot of churchgoers, by the time you're done at noon, they're just getting out, and then they didn't even know it was there. So be strategic with your times, or do twice, two different times. Do Saturday morning and then Sunday afternoon, or whatever it is if you're going to do a whole weekend. I always if I've got 2 or 3 days to do an open house, I try to do one open house for those 3 days, because it's going to take you 4 or 5 days to prepare for each open house and get all of the stuff together. Why do it on 3 different homes? So I try to get it, and then okay, this weekend I'm sitting at this home, and every day they come back in. They drove by and saw me yesterday, but they couldn't stop, and then they come back in today, and I'm still the same person, right? So that's the way I try to do it. It's a better use of my time. Mm-hmm.
Which answer? So have you ever done just one day, or you generally
Yep.
do 2 days? You feel is better.
I do whatever I can,
Okay.
right? And so when I have, I had a listing up in the Mesa, the Ridges, for 2.7.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't do it. I had all the new agents do it, which they loved it, but they were doing them one day. So every day there's a new agent. So if somebody in the neighborhood couldn't get there and they show up the next day, that person that actually caused them to see it didn't even get the client through there, So I try to say, if you've got the time and you can schedule it, but sometimes you're like, hey, I just want to be out there and maybe try to catch somebody, so I've got 4 hours today, I'm doing it. Some people they're like, I only have 3 hours, I don't even want to do it. You know what? It's a lot of work, but it's worth doing, because there's some agents that only do, that's their whole business. They don't even have an office because they just set up shop wherever they're doing open houses. Use your time wisely, because there's a lot of downtime most of the time in open houses. Bring your computer, set up your emails, your CRMs, your weekly newsletter, whatever it is that you have to do. And then when they walk in, then you get up. But be productive, don't just sit there. There's 2 different ways to do open houses. One, you're doing an open house to be professional and get business, and other ones are yeah, I'm just obligated to do it. It's my listing. Walk around, let me know if you have any questions. I've walked in on that, and I'm you don't even have any flyers. And they're they want me to sit here. Okay, but you're not really helping to sell the house, So you do you, but if you have spare time, go and stop at open houses. Just if for nothing else, to just see how other agents are doing it, because you're going to gather something good or bad from each agent and figure out how you're going to do your open houses, because it is a great way to do it and to meet people and stuff. So, okay, how long should your open houses be?
4 hours? 3? As long as you can.
As long as you want it to be,
Okay.
but just know it's going to take you about an hour preparing before and at least a half hour, 45 minutes to tear down and go pick up your signs and do all of that. So if you only have, 3 hours and it's going to be an hour here and 45, like you're really only just sitting there for, So I like to a lot for 4 to 5 hours for setup and tear down at the minimum, right? Because it's just a lot, But again, you're gonna do whatever you need to do. Certain areas like Sky Canyon, and we'll go into that later on, they don't let you put up signs outside the neighborhood. The hardest part is putting up the signs because we're dodging traffic and we're stopping and our hazards are. I'm surprised that a lot of us don't get hit, but we do. And so at Sky Canyon, almost every development has a gate. They don't want your open house signs outside in the Sky Canyon main areas. It's just inside that subdivision. So if I only have 3 or 4 signs to put up, cool, I can do that and set that up in 15, 20 minutes and then I'm back. But if I'm driving around to all the major cross streets a half a mile away, it's going to take me a little bit, right? So.
Question for you. So, for instance, in a subdivision that does not allow you to have your signage outside of those gates, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the way that you market to outside of the community?
Mm-hmm. So that's the hard part, is because you're relying on social media. There's also a tab in here that in the MLS that if it's your listing, you can mark an open house and a little door shows up. And when that little door shows up, it goes on Zillow and Realtor.com as well. But the listing agent has to do it. So whoever's doing the listing, you're like, can I do the listing? And I've got a whole script for that. Great, awesome. Can you change it in the MLS to put that date and time? 90% of the agents don't know how to do it. So if you guys know how to do it, they're gonna say, oh, I don't even know how to do that. Oh, can I walk you through it real quick? It's really, you just click, add and edit your listing, click on the listing, and then right there it says add an open house. You click on it and it asks you like 3 questions. That's it. But I guess a lot of seasoned agents don't go back to the MLS to take the regular classes. So when they add these new features, because it's a relatively new feature, like 5, 6, 7 years, it's not like relatively new. When we're 20 years in, we're like, well, we know everything out of the MLS. We don't need to go back. But they don't realize, and they see it, and they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know how to get it there, and we just don't have the time to go figure it out. So they just don't. So if you guys go, oh, I just found it, like, oh, let me show you real quick. Can you just do it, because it'd be super helpful, because I know that subdivision doesn't let me put signs outside, so I need all the help but I can get promoting it. And then you can make a little video. Hopefully that listing agent will promote it as well. Hey, open house this weekend. You're gonna do, there's places that you can go and do a like a email flyer, like Zip My Flyer or MailChimp or whatever it is. But like if it's a Constant Contact, I think has one, but Zip My Flyer I think is geared more towards realtors, and you can pick zip codes that it's going to, right? And you pay $59 for this zip code, agents that live in that zip code, and $89 for agents that live in this zip code, which is great. But what if somebody in Green Valley's got a client in Centennial Hills and you're just, it's tough, right? But hey, do whatever you can, and that's a whole nother kind of how to market your listings.
Is that zipmyflyer.com or?
I think so. You can Google it, Zip My Flyer, Constant Contact. Then there's another one. You'll get them. You're gonna, since you're on the LVR, and once you join the LVR, these agents are gonna start, the ones that still do the emailer flyers, you're gonna start getting them, because they just send them to all, you pay these outside companies to actually send them all to all the realtors here. So you're gonna start getting them. So when you get them, just save them in a little folder. I have, realtor marketing folder, and anything I see from another agent, I put in that folder so I can go back and revisit in different ways. And that's where I get a lot of my stuff, how I train the new agents. I'm like, hey, I've seen this and I've seen this. Everybody's got different ways to do things, so just kind of, copy what they're doing. Yes.
Where can you find, if you're saying like, oh, I will host your open house, and will the person that's hosting it know what the restrictions are for the signs, or is there somewhere that you can plug in a zip code and it tells you? Or?
So it's mainly the HOA. So you're just gonna say, okay, hey, that's why it takes a few days to prepare for this stuff.
Okay.
Because like Southern Highlands, and I go into it, but Southern Highlands, you can't use regular open houses. They have little green signs that say open house. So you have to go ahead of time, you have to reserve them, you have to, and they have restrictions, just the subdivision, whatever it's gonna be, but they're there, like they're not yours, like they aren't branded to the company or anything, it's just open house today. You know, that's it. So, and then I know, and so I think they let you do outside that subdivision, whereas Sky Canyon, it's only in the specific subdivision. So on the main Sky Canyon Road, you can't put anything. I know. Sun City's like that too. Yeah, so, so you're gonna wanna call the HOA, and I always do, because if it's not allowed and you put signs out, they will take your signs and then they will hold them and fine you to get them back. And if there
Okay.
are signs and you don't return them, you're paying for the signs, you know, so.
My agent, when I hosted open house in the Sun City, she told me right away, like, don't put signs around it.
Mhm.
Would you like, listing agent? or
Yep,
do you-
so sometimes the listing agents know, and when I teach the class, when you're taking a listing, I tell you guys to call before you go live, get all your HOA information, how much are the dues, the transfer fees, can I do open houses, can I put a sign out front? Whether I'm doing an open house or not, I want that information, because sometimes if you guys have ever tried to call an HOA, they don't always answer. And so if I can get them on the phone, I want to have that information to pass along to anybody that's gonna do an open house for me, or even a front yard sign. Mhm.
Who, where is this, so say I have, like, as of right now, right, I'm shopping, or not, I'm not shopping, I'm looking for my buyer. Where, am I just going online and looking up the HOA for that subdivision, like, where am I getting this?
So it's on the MLS, yep.
Okay,
So
it's
when
on
you,
the
yeah,
MLS.
each property, we're required when we take a listing to put on it yes or no if they're located in HOA. And if you put yes, it opens up everything that's required. The name, the phone number, how much it is monthly, quarterly, yearly, if there's SIDS and LIDs, if there's, transfer fees, it's all required for us as listing agents to put it in there now. Before, it would just say yeah, and then they'd throw some number that they copied from somewhere else in there. But, so what I do, if I'm doing open houses on that subdivision and that agent, the listing agent might not know, I'm gonna pull the whole subdivision and I'm gonna pull up each MLS and say, which number keeps popping up? Okay, that's probably the number I should call.
Okay.
And you're gonna wanna do your own homework, because it's you in the end that they're gonna find. They're not gonna find the listing agent, because your name's all over everything, right? So, and then, do you think you should bring someone with you to the open house?
I
It
would say,
It helps.
I don't see a negative to it.
I mean, the only reason I'm jumping is, I've heard in others for safety wise, to have someone come with you.
Now, do you think it should be another agent or somebody else?
I don't think you can go wrong with, I mean, I feel like the problem that you run into with another agent, unless you guys have that communication of, hey, you're not on this if I get any clientele from this, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
If you guys have that conversation, absolutely. Why wouldn't you bring another agent? Or a significant other, or something like that, just to have some security
Yep.
there.
So good and bad to both sides of that. Yes, I think you should bring somebody. Now, if you bring somebody that's unlicensed, like a child or a sister or a spouse, they're not allowed to talk to anybody.
Right.
So if you get bombarded, they can't do anything. It's like, here's their information, hi, she'll be right with you, but it's for safety, right? If you bring another agent, yes, unless they're shadowing you, which you're learning too, so they're gonna want something, because their time is not free either. So every agent has a different way of doing things. Even Tim and myself have a different way of doing things, right? So we don't see eye to eye on this topic specifically. And because I was like, no, it should be fair. So to me, we're both putting in, if there's two of us agents, we're both putting in the same amount of time. So Tim suggests that you partner with an agent, and then the first person that walks in, he gets, the second person I get. Kind of like car sales, right?
Right.
I don't like that, because I'm like, then the third person walked in, I did the majority of the work, but he's getting the sale.
Right.
I don't agree with that. So I say, hey, Joanne, do you want to partner up for the next 2 weekends and do an open house? This weekend, I'm going to pick the open house. It's going to be mine. So if anybody makes an offer, it's going to be in my name, but I'll split it with you 50-50. So I'll give you a referral fee, because I would not have been there without you. So, but I'll do everything. We'll do it together, whatever. But it's going to be in my name if they make an offer. And then next weekend you pick it. I'm going to go help you and assist you, but it'll all be in your name. But that way you're both getting something out of it in the end, but you're helping. You're helping, because our time is not free. And then what happens if we do that, and then 2 weekends in a row, I've done it with Tim, and both times he ended up with somebody. I'm like, well, great. I got
I'm
nothing.
leaning on
Yeah.
the Wendy way.
It just makes more sense, because you're gonna You know, it's only because we all get taken advantage of, and you only let that happen once or twice, and then you're like, I'm gonna figure out a better way to do this. And that's the way I felt that would be best, is that you just share it. They're only gonna be dealing with you. They know that person, and if for some reason you have to go on vacation in the middle of it, they know who that person is, right? That's just the way I've done it, but you guys work it out. But if you're gonna pick another agent, you talk that out, right? Put something in writing, because we don't get involved in that beforehand.
Right.
And then you just, so then that way it's like this weekend, I'm just typing this up this weekend. I picked 123 Main Street. I'll picked it. If we get it on a buyer, it'll be in my name, but I will give you 50% referral. Now it's writing.
I have a question. What if the agent is from different brokerage?
No.
No chance?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to stick with everything with Realty One Group, especially with because how do you market? Like,
Right. No, I just.
yeah, we used to back in the day, or let's take anybody, but back in the day it was a little different. The lenders would come with this, they'd supply all the food, they're like the title reps, like they're dropping off pastry boards, and it's just everybody's budgets got cut, and then but more put on our plate, so getting them to the vendors to do it, they're working everybody, and they can't spend every Saturday with you, so that lightens up who we have to choose from. Now they can help us with our marketing stuff, but to have a body in there, you might get a new lender that's not busy, that might sit there and say, yeah, I'll try to grab the buyers, and that's great too, but we try to have you use an experienced lender like John from Epic that can actually answer the questions, because a lender can give them the wrong information, and guess what, you just lost the deal. So we want you to partner with people that actually really know what they're doing. So, but it's good to kind of help each other out sometimes, and maybe later on down the road or whatever. Title reps good too, but again, they've got the whole city. The sky's the limit on title reps. Like Rock Title is our preferred title company, right? So each office has a marketing rep, and Heather works here in the Northwest, and we could go to her for everything. But she does have to get outside business too from from other brokerages. But if we call her, she has to put them on the back burner. We take precedence. That's why we say we strongly urge you to use Rock Title. We can call them after hours. I mean, not to bother them late in the evening, but at 5:30, it's like, hey, is there any way you can get me a thing for tomorrow? Or if you email her and she sees the email, because she's like me, I'm up till like 10 o'clock at night just checking emails, she'll get it ready and it'll be ready for you. But other title companies could take 2 to 3 days, up to 72 hours to get you stuff when you might need it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So we just have a nice rapport with our Epic and our Rock Title. So always think about putting them first. And again, whatever the title company and the lender they do for you, they do it because in hopes that in return you give them business, right? So we always want to try when you're writing, especially on the mentee program, we require you to write in there for the title company, Rock Title, and one of our escrow officers. If they want to counter it out, they can, and we can try to win. But we always ask you to try first, because they take care of our clients more, give our clients more discounts, right? Okay. So with that, now, do you share it with another agent? Went there. Okay, so good houses to sit at. How do you pick a good house? So vacant or staged homes, because we have vacant homes that are actually staged. Those you do have to watch out too, because sometimes they'll pay, to stage a home is a few $7,000–8,000, okay? So it's not like, you still want to watch what the little things that they put around there. But I myself, I stage my listings, but I call it accessory staging. So I'll bring in little plants from like IKEA and put them around all the sinks. I bring in bathroom towels with little ties, a thing of lemons and stuff like that to make it feel homey, but I do not bring furniture. I do not put holes in the wall to hang mirrors. I don't do any of that. So something little like that, but you could do that for your own listings too. I literally have a bedroom in my house that is full of signs and staging stuff and open house kits, and like it's a whole bedroom, guys. So just plan on just acquiring a whole bunch of stuff. Then you'll have your clients that you'll sell their listing and they're like, oh, at the very end, you know what, I don't want this anymore. You could just take it, get rid of it. Okay, well, that means they don't want it, so either you keep it or you find somewhere for it to go. So I've acquired a lot of stuff going, oh yeah, I'll use that as one of my staging things. Or pass it along to somebody. I had one time, my, I think it was my uncle. No, I had one sale and one purchase, right? One listing and one purchase. So the listing was their second home. So it was furnished. It was a little condo, and the buyer just went through a divorce and he gave everything to the wife. So he was moving in and had nothing. No couch, no bed, no nothing. But they were closing within 2 days of each other. So they said, we're not flying back, so can you just maybe donate it or whatever? And I said, before I donate, do you mind if I have my client come over? And I explained he's going through a divorce, had 2 little kids. They said, by all means, have him take whatever he wants. He says, you know what, I'll do you a favor, Wendy, I'll pack up the whole house, and whatever I don't want, I'll take and donate. And I said, okay, great. So all I had to do was show up there. He had his brother and his son and like everybody. I was like, okay, great. So it helped me too. I didn't need any of the stuff, but one family helps another family, right? So sometimes you do get that, and other times you get left with stuff. It's your job, if it's your listing, your job to make sure that that house is empty. So sometimes it falls upon us to get rid of the stuff. But easy to access and show. So it's sometimes really difficult to do open houses on homes that are behind a gate, like a gated community. But sometimes those are really nice homes to do it. If you're gonna do that, I would call the HOA in advance and say, hi, I'm scheduling an open house from Saturday from 1 to 4. Any chance I can get a code for those hours? And most HOAs will give you something, right? Or even if not, the seller will allow you to put theirs on there. I try to stay away from that, because if it doesn't sell for months, now you just gave that access to. Now Tim has a different way of doing it. Like usually they'll, to get into my community, you have to hit a certain number. And then it rings my phone and I buzz you in. Well, he says on my open house sign, I put call this number. When they call it, he captures their number. Yeah, and then he buzzes them with that seller's number, so he hasn't given it to anybody. And then when they show up, say, oh great, what's your name? And then now he's got their name and their phone number. And then he just tries to get their email to try to keep going. So there's a couple different ways you could do it. But if you're gonna call the HOA anyways, you could see if they have a code, you could do that, and then they could still call you and you can give them the code that way without posting it on your sign out front.
Normally, like what I've seen on gated communities for open houses, they'll have it on that keypad. It'll be like a little note on the keypad and say, if you're here for the open house,
Click
call
this.
it. Yeah, it's something like that. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty
So
cool.
you're gonna find your own way of doing it. We're just here to give you all the different options, right? Whatever works best for you. I like to do them on like newer listings, not something that's been sitting on the market 4 or 5 months, right? So they say generally 3 weeks or less, because people come in and it's like, I see you haven't sold. Why is this blue? And then they start ripping apart the house, and now you're defending the house, and it's not even your listing.
Okay.
And then they're like, oh, you know what? I don't know. This is actually not my listing. I'm helping the listing agent out, and just holding it open for anybody that hasn't had a chance to see it yet. You know, I always do it with a smile. It's not my house, it's not my listing, but I'm here. Do you have any questions about that? Well, why did they do it? Well, I can't answer why they did any of that, but any questions that, are you interested in purchasing it? You know, just try to get them off of the negative thing. But try to do it as new as possible. So there's some agents around town that just sit there, and as soon as a listing hits, hi, do you mind if I do an open house? You'll get calls on your listing all the time from outside agents, because they know we're the largest brokerage here in town. So they haven't joined us yet, but they want to act like they're part of us. So they want to sit at our listings, and we don't allow it. You shouldn't allow it, because again, now everybody that walks through has to sign a buyer broker agreement for them, and if they don't make them do it, they're not following the division rules. And if they do make them do it, it looks like their listing, and Realty One is being crazy. So that's why we just say open houses should just stay within the Realty One group, right? Priced appropriately listed homes, right? So you're gonna look at the homes in the MLS to find one that's vacant. You look through the vacant homes, and then you're like, okay, I like this home. Then you're gonna do the comps. Is it priced well? Because there is no reason for you to sit at a home that's like $100,000 over, because people are like, why would you? They're gonna come in and again start just beating on you because they think you did something wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my listing. So make sure that it's reasonably priced. If not, you can do one once they drop the price and just say, I noticed you just dropped your price. Would you be open to? Would you be open to me sitting in an open house? You know, don't tell them their house is overpriced, because they know, and then they'll probably tell you, I know it's overpriced. So just anybody that comes through, tell them we're open to any offer.
Okay.
You know, that's usually how it works. They just weren't strong enough against their seller. So they're just like, I have to do what I got to do. We're only sitting this price for 2 weeks, then I'm dropping it. You know, you want to do it now, you want to do it in 2 weeks once I drop it. Like, you know, you kind of have conversation with them. But, and then a good location with nearby traffic or other open houses, you won't really know that. But a good location is great. I always like to do it like right after they've kind of pulled into the subdivision, because if you have to pull in and go left and then right and then left and right and then all the way in the back and around and around. Okay, first off, our open house signs, I strongly suggest you invest in your own open house signs. Our open house signs, and we'll talk about that in a minute, we can only let you reserve 4.
Well, you do have something to bar?
Yes, yeah, but this one's broken. I didn't even have one that was fixed. Everybody, we only have about 35 for the office. We have 500 agents in our office, so yeah, so you have to reserve them with the ladies at the front desk.
Okay.
Right now, we don't have any. Like I said, we have this frame, and then the sign fell off the hooks. So I went around the office and asked everybody in one of the offices, does anybody have an open house sign? No, they're at my house, you know, so nobody had one. So I had to bring a broken one in here just to kind of show you what they are. But, yes.
What about the signs that you're seeing? Because I've seen some open house companies that put up the open house signs for you.
Well, I don't know about them, but that's a great service. But now you're relying on somebody else to make sure that they've done it. So you can tell them where you want to put it, but I'm going to show you how to properly put a sign. So I would strongly suggest you go back and make sure they put the sign up properly, right? It is hard, and it's harder for us women because these signs are heavy. And this is a light one. I bought the heavy ones, and I literally have to pull them. They've scratched my car all up, but they don't blow over. But then the heavy ones get stolen because people are walking around going,
really?
I'd love this for my garage sale. Oh, yeah. I walked in somebody's garage. I was driving. I'm like, where was my sign? And as I pull up to the corner, the garage door is open, and there's a dad and a son. He's probably about 15 in there. And I'm like, my sign. I get out and I slam, and I shouldn't have, but because like little old me. And I'm like, you think I can have my sign back? They're like, oh, is that yours? I'm like, yeah. Is your name Wendy? I don't think so. What is my
Even with your
sign?
name and
He
everything?
says, well, I'm having a garage sale this week, and I thought it'd be good. I said, why don't you buy your own? I said, do you know how much that cost me? Do you think I do this for free? I don't just give away signs. Went in his garage and grabbed my sign. As I got in the car, I'm like, I shouldn't have done it. I'm like, what? He could have shut the garage on me. Like, I don't know, but I was so mad. Like, how dare you? Because I think back in the day, I bought 10 signs for like $1,000. They were heavy, big signs, right? So
How many do you recommend?
I recommend at least 10.
Okay.
At least 10, yes, because you don't know if you're going to have one deep. Sometimes if I have extra, I'll put 3 in a row out front.
You know, like a truck to carry those.
Yeah, that's why, like, I just got a car, another SUV, and my husband's like, we don't need this big. I'm like, I need a 3rd row. I need
Yeah.
one for my dogs, and then in case of my open, and like, you don't know, but you've got to pile stuff in there. You've got parties, you've got events, you got like, I just need a big car because of my business, right? So, but yeah, I say at least 10 because you're gonna have one in front of the house, you're gonna have one on the corner, then one, it might take you 5 to get out of the subdivision, and then you wanna go to the major cross streets. But if you have a very long street, like, I don't know if you guys have been on Grand Teton way in the Northwest, it is long.
Super long.
And then there's only like one street in between, so it's like you have to put 3 on that street, you know, at this end, and one in the middle, so they don't, because they're like, where did I go? And if there's a turn anywhere, you have to put another sign because they're like, was I supposed to turn there? Okay, do I keep going? Like, what, you know, you could lose them. So be consistent. Now, there are some guys that you can follow on Facebook. Another guy, a guy's name is Josh Smith. I think he's out of another state. I don't know where, Chicago or something, but he does killer open houses. And he does a lot of podcasts and stuff, but I think he says like 25 to 30 open house signs. Yeah, and he gets the googly stuff, and he says put them out 2 hours before, and I don't like that idea because now they're 2 hours before looking for it.
Right.
So it's you know, it's a little bit of an ordeal, but you know, you're gonna find your way to do that. I just feel like I have a hair. There it is. Okay. So okay, so back to houses to avoid. Tenant occupied homes. It's hard to keep them clean, but you're responsible for their belongings. Homes with deferred maintenance or odor. So if you know it needs fixing and they just haven't gotten around to it, but they're going to do it next weekend, just wait till next weekend because you're defending it, right? And odors, and that's what I say, when you pick a house and the listing agent says, yeah, you go and visit it that same day and say, okay, you know what, I've decided I went to the house, I don't know, because I tell them, thank you so much, I'm going to go check it out, make sure I see it face to face, and then I'll let you know if it's still good because you have a brand to uphold. You don't want to be the one that holds open houses at all the awful houses, you know, unless you're looking for like investors and stuff, that might be fine, but you're defending that house the whole time. So they walk in, they're like, oh my God, it smells. It's not my listing, you know, because they're going to remember you for not your listing. So let's see, listings over 60 days unless they're recently refreshed or updated. Listings in gated communities with restricted access or that are deep in the neighborhood. So we went through all of that. How to find another Realty One Group listing. So on here it tells you, you know, you can ask the agents in the office. Each office has a Facebook group. Join all 4 Facebook groups and post on there, I'm looking for an open house to sit at this weekend, and you'll see agents that'll do it, or listing agents that'll say, anybody want to hold an open house, right? Jump on that, or you can just call. But Attend weekly meetings. So we're trying to get used to, we forget and we run out of time, but like, does anybody have a listing they want to promote? So if they promote their listing, just say, hey, you opened open houses, right? But on the MLS, you click on the main dashboard, and then on the far left, it's going to have your office firm. I think it's called office firm listings. And it said there was like 1,002 of them or something last night when I checked. And when I click on it, you can reorder them, and it came with rentals, and then land, and then duplexes, and single-family residentials. So, and then you go through those lists and see which ones are vacant and, or areas that you want, stuff like that,
And
right?
this is all on the MLS, this is not Zone or any of that?
Nope, MLS. And when you're searching for homes, it's always on the MLS.
Okay.
Okay? What to say when you call the agent to ask for the open house. Sample script. Hi, I'm Wendy Schaller. Hi, Susie. I'm Wendy Schaller, a fellow Realty One agent. I started listing at 123 Main Street, and I'd love to hold an open house this weekend Sunday from 1 to 4. Would you be open to letting me do that? Plain and simple. And then when they say yes, I always shoot a confirmation email. Great, I'm going to shoot you an email with all of my contact information, and then I'm going to go drive by the house right now just to verify that it's good and everything that I want to do, and then I'll send you confirmation again. Okay, great. And then if they say yes, I usually follow up with an email. I also suggest stopping by the house. If it is changed or the seller has not to maintain the property, the photos look nice, and then maybe they've moved out and left a whole bunch of stuff. So when you get there, you're like, whoa, this house is dirty. I like the houses to be clean. So I'll call the agent and say, hey, I stopped by the house, and it looks like it needs a good cleaning. Is that going to be done by Sunday? I don't have a problem asking, because guess what? If you choose to still do it, you're cleaning that house. Why would you want somebody to come in and you put a plate of food and then you're like, ugh, it's all over on a dirty counter. I have a whole bag here, guys. I'm going to show you what I bring because I anticipate having to clean houses when I go there. Don't expect to walk in. It's just going to be done. Because sometimes they list it, it's vacant, and nobody goes back to check on it, and then a month later there's dust everywhere and dust bunnies, and somebody viewed it, opened the door, and the wind blew all these leaves in. You'll see leaves all the time in vacant homes because they just leave the door open, they're talking, and it's just blowing everything around. So, and then it says, use the MLS filters to search for Realty One Group listings in your targeted area. Oh wait, that's how to find it. Oh no, sorry, the script. We're down to the script. Sorry, okay. So, and then if you think this may not be a good choice or location or the appearance, because sometimes you drive up, the house is great, but all around it is not, you're not going to probably get a ton of traffic to that neighborhood if it's priced like here and when the rest of the neighborhood is down here, So you have to kind of use your best judgment because it is your brand. They're thinking that it's you. Nothing is worse than spending 4 hours defending a listing that's not yours. Because it is. That's what's going to happen. They're going to come in and they just start pummeling you because they think you don't know what you're doing. And then the bonus tip, though, is when you're talking to them, hey, if it's okay with you, what I like to do is give you a follow-up email after it's over with, just let you know how many people came through the property. When you gather clients' information, buyers' information, that is your information. So any listing agent that says, I want a copy of that, not going to happen. You can maybe give them their names just so the seller, because sometimes the sellers want to know who's been in their house, names and times that they came in.
Okay.
But that contact information, that is why you're sitting there, not the listing agent, right? And if they say, nope, you have to give it to me, say, okay, you know what? Let me get back to you then. Because that is, you're doing all the work for them they're going to start chasing those people. That is why you're sitting at an open house, to gather buyers or potential buyers or maybe even sellers in the neighborhood, their information. So you can add them to your CRM and you can send them thank you letters and you can follow up with them, right? Okay, so you found the house to sit at. Now what? First, you're going to contact your Rock Title Management marketing rep, right? Which would be Heather in this office. Request an open house package. There's a thing called List Before You Know, and it'll tell you if there's, what's going on in the neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. But there's also an open house setup that she gives you. I have an old one that used to give you guys these backpacks, which is really cool because everything's contained in here, but I don't think they do that anymore. But they give you a folder full of stuff, and then she might give you some like pens and notepads and stuff, like just so you have like to write and have them sign some stuff. But in this Rock Title thing, you're going to have buyer guides. If I can get it out of here. Oh, it's stuck. So these home buyer guides are awesome, and they look beautiful. I keep 2 out on my table, and I'll show you how to set up the table in a little bit. I don't give them away unless I think they're a solid buyer. And if there's a buyer that comes in that doesn't want to fill out the form, but then you want to take your information, say, oh, I'm sorry, those are just to look at right now. Because If they don't want to give you your information, why are you giving it to them? Because you could staple your card there if you want to feel generous. I mean, these are really nice high-end, so don't just give them out like water. Give them out because they're actually, you know, like legitimate buyers. But it tells them how to move and who to call and that kind of stuff and the process, all of that. Then they give you a whole bunch of stuff here that you can put in things around the house. Like, hold on, where's my thing? So real quick, when you call Heather, she's going to set you up on a system called List Reports. List Reports is going to give you some really cool things to print out, as well as flyers that look like this. This is from List Reports as well. So it gives you some information about the square foot of the house and the lot and how many bedrooms and bathrooms, and then the pictures and then the verbiage that you want, and it's branded to yourself, right? So let me put that up there for everybody to see.
Wait, the verbiage about this house, is that you pull off of the MLS?
But yeah, you can type it and change it up. You can copy and paste it, whatever you're going to want. It's going to let you design the flyer, but it always looks, the template looks like this, right?
Okay. And Heather's sending this.
Heather's going to set you up on List Reports, and then you go into List Reports
And design.
and then just put in, it's going to ask you property, like you're going to click on open houses, and then it's going to say, do you want flyers or this or that or postcards? And then if you hit flyers, it just asks you the information, right?
And then does what, like a ChatGPT writes it up for you?
No,
Or
you can copy and paste it from the MLS and use their same verbiage, or if they didn't really spell it out nicely and you have a little bit better way of forming your paragraph, you could do that. You could do GPT. Yeah, whatever it is. You can use that. Like, however you guys want to do it, it's yours, right? But List Reports will pull things like this. Or like very convenient. So there it says dry cleaner, CVS, ATM, medical, coffee. It tells you how far away things are. There's one that's on schools, what schools are zoned for, and the ratings. Unless they're like 9s and 10s, I don't like to put that one out. Because if you've got school ratings at 3s, and then you have parents coming in there like, oh my gosh, I don't want to live in this neighborhood, and then boop, they're gone, right? But so this is kind of some cool stuff. And I get these plastic things at Office Depot. They're like $8, $9, but they're reusable. And I use them for everything. You can put them up like this. You can put them sideways, whatever it is the print is. And then again, other flyers. This one says, oh, it's just information, but it's very convenient. Area report, schools in your area. These are, Cheyenne High School is a 2. Swainston Middle School is a 3. And then there's this, I don't know, pre-K is 5.
So when you see them sort of that low, you sort of just redirect them to CVS?
Yeah, but there's one that's just for schools. This I'd probably put out because it says the great outdoors. There's golf courses, dog parks, like it tells you a bunch of stuff. Neighborhood eats, some fast food, 27 fast food places, American pizza, bars. Like, so it tells you a lot of information on here. So maybe they don't have kids and don't care about the schools.
Right.
But then the other stuff might be interesting. But I like it because it's colorful, and you put them up around the house. I'll put one in the bathroom. I will put one in one of the bedrooms. So I scatter things around, right? And then with Rock Title, what I like to also pass out is the process. This is nice. It's like glossy paper and heavy. And I'll leave it on one of my counters or something for them to pick up. And it's the process of the transaction. Because they think they know, but they don't really know. But if your information is not on here, which it doesn't look like there's a spot for it, staple your card somewhere. Just put your card, your information anywhere that you can, right? So you're going to get used to ordering 500 to 1,000 cards at a time, and you're going to go through them. If you go through them, you're doing your job right. You're putting your stuff everywhere, right? This one is great because it's a rent versus buy. You're spending $1,000 in rent, which I don't know who's doing that right now, but over 5 years, they've just spent $60,000 paying for somebody else's mortgage, right? So if they spend $3,000, $3,000 in rent, in 5 years, they spent $180,000 towards somebody else's mortgage. So why would you pay for somebody else's mortgage you can afford? If you're paying $3,000 a month, you can afford to own, right? Well, we say that. We're going to set you up with John Morgan over at Epic London, and he's going to let you know if you qualify. Because we don't know what kind of debt they have or whatever else that they might have, right? Opening escrow, an escrow checklist, what they need to have available for the escrow company, importance of the statement of identity. People don't understand that. Right when you open escrow, they get a statement of identity because there's a million John Smiths. They need to know addresses and years that you were at certain locations or whatever. So this is just kind of goes into it why they collect that information. And this is a great one too, ways to take title. They're always asking us, how do I take title? I can't instruct you on that. Escrow officer is going to kind of walk you through that, but nobody's going to pick that but you. and you don't want to tell them, talk to their, you don't want to tell them what you think because now they might have vested wrong, and if a spouse passes and you've given them the wrong information, you can put them in a world of hurt. And then here's some things like the buyer can generally be expected to pay for what? And it's usually like the loan policy, record the warranty deed, the deed of trust, the courier fees, the escrow fees. So it kind of gives them a little bit of a breakdown. It doesn't give them prices, but it tells them what to expect. So this is great information that you can spread around. And what I like to do is I get those little TV tables, and I put them throughout the house. And I'll put them in every room, but I put like one of these, and then my business cards, and like a little trinket, like a pen or some couple of 3 or 4 pens, and I'm like, hey, feel free. And I'll walk through. I'll kind of show you how I do it. But if this is the room and that's the door, I put the table over there. So they walk all the way through, and then they turn around. They're like, oh, look at the view out this window. But if you just have it right by the door, they're like, great, and then they just walk away. I want them to walk the house, right? And then they get in there like, oh, there's ceiling fans in every bedroom. Like, they're going to notice a little bit more, but don't just let them grab and go, because people love to just take your free stuff. And it costs you a lot of money, and you didn't really get anything out of it. So if they have a chance to pick up my information, I'm going to make sure that they do. Right? Okay, so what to say? Okay, so that's with Rock Title. You'll also ask your marketing rep at Rock Title to pull a farm list, because that's what you're going to use to either call all of the neighbors to let them know that you're doing an open house. I just wanted to let you know, this is Wendy Schaller. I'm with Realty One Group. I'm doing an open house at 123 Main Street in your neighborhood on Saturday. Just wanted to invite you. Emails, addresses with their names, so then you can door knock, and then a day or two before. And I like door knocking. Most of the time you're not